In this video, I'm going to answer 2 subscriber questions that have to do with how to write the headline or first sentence of your proposal, and also what to do when a client posts a job for a certain budget, and do you propose something that's outside of that budget? Does that decrease your chances in getting the job or getting interviewed? Does it increase it? We're going to go over these 2 things. So I'm just going to read the question to you from this subscriber on the channel. Again, feel free to send me questions anytime, and I might be able to make a video on it as well if it's not just a quick response that I can respond to in YouTube. So the first question has to do with, I've been submitting custom proposals for every job. I'm trying to be very careful about my first couple of sentences to pique interest, but my open rate is still seeming very low. I'm thinking about trying out a direct response style intro similar to email subject lines or advertorial headlines in order to get them to at least open it. What are your thoughts? When it comes to proposals, I always recommend to keep things conversational. There isn't an area in Upwork where you can put in a headline like in an email subject line. The first sentence of your cover letter is essentially your headline. That's what that plus the next sentence or part of it is what the client is going to see when they're searching through proposals. There's no place where you can put a specific headline like you can in an email. With that said, you can always put something where you're using capital letters and it almost reads like an email headline in the first sentence of your proposal. And you can experiment with that. I have not had success with that. I have not really tried it. In the past, I maybe a couple of times had something that was less conversational, that was more of like a headline. But I can't say that it won't work. So I would say that it's worth experimenting with. But I just know that for the most part, when you're keeping things conversational in those first couple of sentences, you can still make it very interesting and you can grab their attention while still keeping it conversational, because it's not like you're just going to have 6 words as your first sentence. It's going to be a full sentence, and it might throw them off if once they click it reads like a headline, but then all of a sudden you switch into a sentence. I feel like to me it would read a little awkward, but I'm going to say it's worth experimenting with, because I have not really extensively tried that myself. And especially if you're invited to a job and you're not spending connects on it, then maybe experiment with a couple of them and see if you get more of an open rate with those. And then the next question is, so many of the jobs I'm seeing in my niche are wanting services for a very low per hour rate or a very low fixed rate. Do you typically just ignore their stated budget and build the case for your service at your regular pricing, or do you propose the job at a lower rate as sort of a loss leader to gain a longer term client or something else? I would not undercut your value by trying to lower your rate to match what these job posts are putting as their budget. I have had countless clients whose original job post was lower, sometimes much lower than what I proposed, but in the end they still hired me. And it's because a lot of times clients don't really know what to put there. If it's a fixed rate, maybe they have more of an idea of a certain budget that they have, but I've still been able to get clients to pay for my services or a version of them once they understand what they're going to get from it. When a client doesn't fully understand what they're looking for, which is most of the time, and they don't exactly know the cost yet, they especially don't know the cost benefit, they don't know what the return on their investment will be, so they put a placeholder in there as almost like, here's maybe the amount of risk I'm willing to take if I get no return on my investment. But if they know they're going to get a return, then the risk they're willing to take might be a lot greater. So I would just ignore those. Now, they'll also label whether the job is entry level, intermediate, or expert. I typically don't go after entry level jobs. And so I'll go after jobs that are at least intermediate or expert, because a lot of times if it's entry-level job and they have a low budget, they might not be willing to work with you with your higher rate, and they just want somebody who's a flat-out beginner, and they're willing to pay less for less experience. But when it's intermediate or expert and they still have a pretty low budget in their job posting, just ignore it. I've done that all the time, and I've still been able to get a client out of it. And their original, and they would even say to me, yeah, I just kind of put in a placeholder for the budget because I had to post the job, but I honestly not really sure exactly what I'm willing to spend on this. And that's most of the time. So I would not just lower your fixed fee rate, because also that can help you stand out. A lot of freelancers who are applying to the job are trying to apply within that client's budget. But if you're the one proposal that is an outlier outside of that budget, that might actually help your proposal stand out. And you might even get more clicks. I know I've gotten more clicks because of having jobs where my rate was much higher than what most of the freelancers bidded for, or not even bidded, but just put in their proposal. And I was still able to get an interview, still able to get clients. And so that can definitely work. So that's literally it for this video, just answering those 2 questions. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, or go to freelancefamilyman.com where you can submit the contact form and I can help consolidate your questions into a future video. Have a good day.